In Thunder Bay, there are emotional pleas to disband the local police department. Earlier this week, Indigenous families spoke out about their demands for a fresh start.
We don't have faith, we don't have any trust with the Thunder Bay Police. There is far too much corruption in the upper level. The corruption has gone down from the top to some of their officers.
That's Vincent Ostberg speaking about his daughter Jenna, who was found dead last December. Vincent says his daughter experienced domestic violence, but his family's concerns were dismissed by police. Ostberg is our guest in the Spotlight tonight, and a warning, he goes into graphic detail about his daughter's death. Vincent, thank you so much for making time for us tonight.
Yeah, and thank you for having me.
Vincent, I want to start. As a parent, I cannot imagine the loss that you must be feeling. First of all, I'm so sorry for your loss of your daughter. What can you tell us about your daughter, Jenna?
She was a graduate from the Confederation College with the College Access Program. She had finished high school with Hammersholt High School here in Thunder Bay. We had left in 2016. They left in 2015, but I left in 16 around that time. And we came here with our 4 children to bring them for education. And as parents, we wanted to ensure that they all graduated, that they all would pursue post-secondary education. She loved to do art. She was a talented artist. She liked to do sketching, portraits. She also could play the piano. She liked to do, which was jazz playing, even though she didn't fully understand music theory at the time, but she had a natural ear for it. And she was an advocate for Every Child Matters. She was very aware of the history of the Indian residential schools and the impacts on Indigenous peoples.
I'm sorry to have to ask you this, but I have to ask you about how you lost Jenna. Tell me about the day that Jenna died.
The day that Jenna passed on, I was working in Bearskin Lake as a mental health counselor. And I was on day 9 out of my 10-day shift. I was supposed to have gone home on Sunday afternoon. So on Saturday, it was my second last day there, and I was wrapping up, waiting to go home. I was expecting to see her again. I suddenly received a phone call from my wife, Melanie Beardy, and she told me over the phone that the Thunder Bay Police had approached her and they had informed her. They had asked if she knew who Jenna Ostberg was. Then they informed her that she was found deceased at a residence on Ray Boulevard in Thunder Bay, Ontario.
Tell me, Vincent, our viewers may not know this, but you're also a former police officer yourself. You're a professional in this field. What do you make of the way that the Thunder Bay Police handled your daughter's death?
Well, after they informed Melanie and myself that my daughter had passed on, we had asked what the cause was, and we were informed that, that was a suicide, is what they put it as. And they left it at that for days. Nobody communicated with us. Nobody talked to us. No follow-up from the Thunder Bay Police. And I started to do my own investigation. We started trying to, we asked questions. We talked to people who knew her, who chatted with her. And I did a lot of investigating. I was talking with the coroner's office here in Thunder Bay and getting answers from the coroner. I also had to compile handwriting analysis and submit them to the Thunder Bay Police. And this was also submitted to the Special Investigation Unit. Now, the circumstances regarding her death, the facts in issue have changed from what was used that caused her death, from plastic fixture to scarf. And it's very, very disturbing that she was not in a noose but on a clothesline, and that I had to question this. So I asked for a reenactment of the scene. I've asked for forensic fingerprint analysis to see whether it was her handwriting or not. I've asked for proper interrogation and interview techniques where scientific methods are used to determine what is truthful and what is deceptive. Deceptive and truthful statements in body language and the use of psychology. I've also asked that the Thunder Bay Police retrieve the medical notes for an incident where my daughter was either slashed or cut with a glass shard in October 2023. And they have not made any effort to retrieve this, as far as I know. So this tells me that they are incompetent, and I don't have any confidence or trust in them. So this is why we called us Indigenous people who have lost loved ones with the Thunder Bay Police's failure to investigate these deaths, including my daughter. We've asked for a disbandment of Thunder Bay Police and the Police Board of Directors. There have been so many deaths from the 7 youths who were presumed drowned in the river that they came out of high school and drowned themselves. That there are many other people whose deaths were never investigated, even though there's suspicion of foul play and murder. And one thing about investigations, especially death investigation, before you can write off someone to say that it's just another suicide, or you must rule out foul play. Any investigation that has death, foul play must be ruled out before you can come to a conclusion. And apparently, their only conclusion is determined from the start. That's basically another write-off for the Thunder Bay Police.
Vincent, when you tell me, first of all, thank you for walking me through everything that happened, including some what must be very difficult details for you to talk about the circumstances in which your daughter was found. But as a former police officer, you know the methodology and the proper steps that should have been followed. This is a skill that many people won't have. Tell me, what would it mean to the members of your community, to people that you know who had lost their children, if Ontario, the province of Ontario, was to heed your request to disband the Thunder Bay Police Force?
Well, I believe that everything's political. You know, like obviously there's a lot of politics going on here in Thunder Bay. This is not the first time that the Thunder Bay Police Service has been called to disband by Indigenous leadership. As this is ongoing, and this goes back maybe a decade or more, that so many Indigenous people have died. Indigenous women who have been sexually assaulted, raped, they're not investigated properly, they're turned away. I've heard. And there are other crimes that have been committed against Indigenous people. So what it means to the province of Ontario is that, you know what, I've been through a transition as a police service when I had to patch over from the Ontario Provincial Police First Nations Bureau over to the Anishinaabe Nation, Anishinaabe Police Service I meant. And the transition only took a few months. It's not making a hill out of a molehill. A transition can happen easily. It just takes a few months for the officers to get accustomed, and either, you know, I guess the officers would have to go through a screening process to show they are worthy and competent to be police officers.
Vincent, what comes up inevitably, those demands that your community has had, as you said, for a long time, for at least a decade, to disband the police force, they have been echoed in other parts of the world, other parts of Canada, to defund the police, to re-examine how police works. The one thing that always comes up from people who oppose this is it will lead to lawlessness, to anarchy, to no repercussions for criminals, for the people won't feel safe. What do you say to that?
If you have a police force that is built on caring people, people who believe in a cause, people who believe in justice and righteousness, there will be no anarchy, because there are people who are brave enough to stand up for what's right. One spoiled apple spoils the rest of the apples. And this is coming from corruption from the board level and the Thunder Bay police chiefs in the past. Two of them who have already been dismissed. And now, with the politicking that's going on here, it is highly questionable how sincere this new police chief is towards Indigenous people.
Do you believe the police chief, Darcy Fleury, had said that the force is trying to regain the community's support? How much faith do you have that that's feasible, that's doable?
Well, if he says he's trying to regain the trust of people, well, then he must personally oversee that any death investigation is done thoroughly. Because when they had failed to attend that residence where my daughter is found deceased, it shows that they are negligent. They could have saved my daughter's life. They could have saved other people's lives, of the people who went missing. That's the thing. He has a lot of talk, talk, but where's the action? Where's the proof? Prove to us that you've actually done something for the Indigenous families, and maybe we'll believe you. Until then, you haven't done a thing for any of us. So don't expect us to believe you, because we never will until you do.
Vincent, thank you so much for your time and for sharing your thoughts with us. Really appreciate it.
Okay.
That was Vincent Ostberg, whose daughter was found dead last December. He's one of the many Indigenous people in Thunder Bay calling for the disbandment of the local police force.